Josh.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out this morning. Thanks to George and Justin and Allie for having me. I'm a little pissed at Creative Mornings because I'm pretty sure y'all stole my manifesto. Like, what's up with that? No, I guess we're just aligned. I like listening to that, I was like, oh man, all of it. So, in honor of our topic today and the 1 year milestone of this thing that happened, I'm just gonna tell you a story about the town of Marshall, which is my adopted town. If you don't know, Marshall is the county seat of Madison County, and it is 1 mile long, 1 street wide, sky high, and hell deep. That's my slide here. Just a little bit of background. I was raised in Floyd County, Virginia, but I like to say I grew up in Asheville. I showed up here in 1998 as a pretty wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, overly enthusiastic 18-year-old. And I immediately fell in love with this town, and I specifically grew up in this neighborhood. The River Arts District was my home. I founded a thing called Clay Space in the Wedge building, which is still there. Like 24 years later, we're the longest tenured tenant in the Wedge building, and that space has been supporting artists and allowing them to be professionals and make a living this whole time, and it's actually something I'm very proud of. I also witnessed the River Arts District in Asheville's growth, and I felt like I had this moment where I was like, oh shit. I sort of missed the boat on owning any of this, and had this kind of existential crisis where I was almost bought a shithole house in West Asheville that was probably gonna have to get set on fire. And I had actually already bought a shithole house in Madison County that I did set on fire on purpose. And my friend Jody Gukas was like, dude, the house that you bought in Madison County that you set on fire was in better shape than this house. And I was like, oh man, you're right. So in 2016, I pushed all my chips in to Marshall. And ownership is something that I think is really important and was a lesson that I took away from my experience in the River Arts District. And I really wanted to have a seat at the table. And I think ownership is skin in the game. And I realized down here that I kind of spent my whole life making stuff awesome for other people. And I never got jaded about that. I just was like, this is a lesson. And so I pushed all my chips into this town because look at it. It's the kind of place that you go to and you just fall in love. So I bought this building with 3 partners. This is the Madison County Jail. It was the oldest operational jail in the entire state of North Carolina. It only closed in 2012. We bought it in 2016. And we spent 5 years transforming it into this. And thank you. The things I will say about that project is I never thought about it as real estate. I always thought about it as sculpture. And then I actually really thought about it as social practice art. And that's what it really is. It's just art. And one of the things for me in my journey was understanding that creativity is the greatest resource, especially now in this modern age. The ability to think creatively is, I think, the most important thing in the world. And as an artist, I had this journey of understanding that power. And when I was coming up, there was a lot of this oh, you're gonna be an artist, how are you gonna make a living? And my answer to that is any fucking way I want. Seriously. So when we bought it, people was like, what was it like? And I was like, dude, it was a jail. Like, that was the last thing that it did. And in fact, Buddy Harwood is still the sheriff of Madison County. He's a good friend of mine, which is a great, like, side quest benefit of owning the old jail. Like, all the cops are like, Jens did a good job on the jail. I'm like, thanks, Sheriff. So I have that card if I ever need to play it. So we took that thing and turned it into this. It is an art hotel. I did all the design. I did a lot of the dirty work. So over the course of 5 years, what was a jail was transformed into this. So this is like a before and after. So the things that I saw when I walked in there, and this is another thing about creative thinking, is like, as an artist, I have an ability to visualize things that normal brained people just cannot see. And this was so clear to me because I walked in that building and I saw that. And people were like, dude, we just can't see it. And I was like, I know. And then they were like, you're crazy. And I was like, I know. That's why I'm gonna pull this off. Because you gotta be a little crazy. So Marshall has been a slow burn. Like, anyone that knows it, it's if you've ever seen the movie Cars, that is the plot line. So in 1961, they built a bypass that literally just bypassed the town, and the whole economy of Marshall was like built on the road. And when the road changed, the whole economy just evaporated. There was like 7 gas stations and 5 grocery stores, and like all of those gas stations just didn't matter anymore. And the town went into a slow economic decline. And I'm kind of a part of this like Asheville expat creative community that like moved to Marshall, and you know, I bought the jail for $90,000. And so like this kind of like slow renaissance resurgence started to happen, and it wasn't for me about like replacing what was there. Like, Donna Ray Norton represents a generational connection to Madison County that I actually super value. And like, growing up in Appalachia, my parents were hippies, and I got a lot of like, you ain't from here shit when I was a kid. And it like kind of hurt my feelings a lot, because I was like, I am from here. I'm like the most from here, dude. And I learned that like that can be kind of hurtful, but it's also not untrue. And there is this thing when you're from a place for generations, you know it in a different way. And I really honor that and respect that, but I also try to create a space where there's an opening for new energy. And like, so people that move in, like, my whole motto is like, integrate and elevate. And I think that's important. So like, when I did the jail, I'm a hell of a talker, but I'm a pretty damn good listener too. And my whole thing was like, I'm gonna do more listening than talking. And that's what it's gonna take. So the slow burn thing was like a process. And you know, everyone's like, Marshall's gonna blow up. And I'm like, is it? Like, I think it's just gonna slowly, incrementally get cooler. And so the week before Hurricane Helene, I legit like turned to my friend and was like, this is the coolest Marshall's ever been in my lifetime. One example is the noodle hole just opened. And yeah, Holly and Ryan, the owner of Whole Donuts, perhaps you have heard of it. They created a passion project, which is a noodle restaurant, and they spent like a year working on it, and they opened it a week before the flood. And so like, it was like the coolest week in Marshall. Like, every night of the week there was something going on, and we were like eating noodles and like, wow, we made this town that's so cool. deal. And then this shit happened. And that week, I remember being like on Wednesday, like being like, dude, is there a hurricane? And people were like, no, I don't think so. And then Thursday, I was like, I think there's a hurricane. And then Friday happened, and basically my whole life changed in like an hour. Like I was in the town, and the water started coming over the tracks, and then in an hour there was 4 feet of water, and then there was 12 feet of water. And so that's our town. It's right on the French Broad River. And, you know, if you are in Marshall, like, we know it's gonna flood, but we did not have this on our bingo card. So that's the prediction. Like, I was refreshing that morning. It's 19 feet, which is to my knees at the jail. And that's what I thought was coming. And what we got was, I had 12 feet of water in my building. And the water came in fast and it left super fast. And that photo is actually from Saturday at 5 p.m. And that was the first time I got in my building, and that look on my face is fucking real. And that was the darkest moment. And I always tell people, this story is not a story of destruction. That's just the first chapter. And in that moment, I remember like no cell phone, and just feeling like the completeness of the destruction in Marshall was almost unbearable, because there are like areas and everywhere in Western North Carolina, like some people I know call it the storm, like we call it the flood. And like everyone was impacted in a different way, but like our whole town was destroyed. Like there wasn't like, people were like, what about this building? I'm like, yeah, that one, like all of them. And so in that moment, I remember just being like, fucking condemn it, dude. Like, it's done. That's how it felt. So then this like incredible thing happened. That's me the next day. Just to give you an understanding of the destruction in Marshall, that's the south end of our town, and that was like all buildings. And so they're all gone. We lost 15 structures during the flood. So this is the story that I'm here to tell, is actually the story about human compassion, love, and resiliency, because basically, like, I woke up Sunday morning and like, I remember feeling like floating above my body and just like not knowing how to act. I was like, do I eat breakfast? Like, what do I do? And then I just was like, I'm gonna go to the town. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but like I have to go there. No cell phones. Everyone else in my town had the same experience and the same feeling, so we just showed up. And we just started. Like, we didn't wait for anyone to come save us. Our neighbors, that's James Suttles, he's my neighbor. He brought his dump truck. That's Joey Sheehan, he's my other neighbor. He brought his tractor. That woman brought a mop. And I was like, go girl. Like, whatever you got, bring it. That's the vibe that I was trying to, like, you know, like we were cultivating that. Like, whatever, you know, some people are like, I can do a sound bath. And I remember my friend kind of mocking it, and I was like, dude, that's what they got. Bring it to the table, like, good on you. Maybe we need sound baths. So there was a lot of this, Tyvek going on. Tons of hugs, like the most hugs. That was like the big theme for me. So here's some hugs. That's me hugging the governor. That's me hugging the other governor. So that's one of my main moves, is doing hugs with the governor. You gotta get allies, dude. So people did show up. Like our whole thing was like, we didn't wait for anyone to come save us, which is a very Appalachian thing to do. But it's also like, we weren't like, don't come help us. So, but the good thing is like, we got started. So when people showed up, like the military, we just started giving them orders. They were like, yes, sir. I was like, you don't have to call me sir. They're like, heard, sir. I'm like, I guess this sir thing is just part of it. There was a moment for me when, I'm like doing videos and doing the fucking news because someone's got to do it. And, I feel like everything I was doing like was not effectively communicating the feeling. And I think like in this world, we're inundated with images and like you numb out to it. And like we watch TV and there's violence and disaster. And I felt like I was just like broadcasting this TV thing and like it wasn't working. Like the feeling wasn't there. It was just like, oh look, more destruction and people are scrolling on TikTok. And this moment happened when Sheila K. Adams and Donna Ray came to Marshall for the first time. And this was probably like Donna was the second time. Donna was there. She did tons of work. But also one of the themes was like, the woman brought a mop. Donna Ray, I'm like, Donna Ray, you shouldn't be shoveling. Like, that's not the highest and best use of your skill set. That's an important thing when you're in this, is like figuring out what you can do that aids it the most. And Donna Ray shoveling, anyone can shovel mud, but nobody can sing like Donna Ray. And so the moment for me was Sheila K. Adams singing a ballad in a pile of garbage that used to be my restaurant, and just being like, whatever that is doing it. Like that feeling, that's it. And so we were like, let's do more of that. Like, this building was filled with toxic water. Let's fill it with song. And that's the theme. Like the blossom is like in the darkness and in the destruction, the beauty is there if you can see it. And so many beautiful things came out of this. And the Resonance Sessions is one of them. We made a 35-song triple vinyl LP. Like we just did it. It's recorded in the jail. Like there are dump trucks and track hose in the background. And we just started singing songs because it felt like the right thing to do. And the ballad swap happens once a month, every second Wednesday. So we didn't have a home for it anymore. And then we were like, let's take this show on the road. So we did a whole tour. We went to my hometown and played my hometown venue, the Floyd Country Store. This is probably one of my favorite things that happened. We had a PPE fashion show. Because that was all the rage, remember? October 2024, everyone's wearing that Tyvek. This is my friend Lois. Her whole house was destroyed, like absolutely gone. She lost everything she had in this physical world. And that's how she was like showing up. So if that's not an inspiration, like, I don't know what is. We did this lantern walk thing. That felt pretty special. This is my friend Sarah Jones Decker. I'm just giving you examples of how art is important, especially more important when you're involved in a traumatic tragedy. Sarah Jones Decker made a dark room in the back of her Subaru and then started doing tintypes. This is one she made of me. She's got a show that opens, I guess it's at Mars Hill, October the 3rd. This is cool because the last great flood was in 1916, and this is pretty much like how they made photos. And then these are good because they look 1916, but like in all the photos, there's like modernity is in there too. So I got real familiar with this. This is like on the internet, but it's real and it's true. So a lot of that was this first spike, the heroic spike, and then there's this thing called the trough of disillusionment. I spent a bunch of time down in there. And I think we're at, there maybe is a setback or trigger area. I think that's where we are now. So like the whole thing is like, look how good we did. But then also it's a lot of like this, like, look how messed up it still is. So that's our town hall. That's our post office. Like, that's how it still looks. Still don't have a post office, still don't have a town hall. But there are like great examples of people bringing it back. So that's the Penland's department store. That's one of our most cherished legacy businesses. And that's what it looks like. I took that picture yesterday. So they are reopening Saturday. And it's incredible, arguably even better than it was. Zuma is our coffee shop. There's Zuma. I took this picture this morning. That's Connie. She owns Flow Gallery. That's another one of Sarah Jones Decker's tintypes. And you can see the flood level there. And she wrote Hope, but the tintypes are reversed. That's how it works, so it's backwards. But that's Flow Gallery now, and Connie. So here's some more before and afters. That's our town hall during the flood. Oh, and that's still our town hall. We've not got the FEMA money yet. Remember that photo? Boom! I got some more gray hairs, but it's been a hell of a year. Left is the flood. I love this photo because the chair is on top of the door. I did not put that there. The right is current. There's my bar. And that's what it looks like today. Come visit, have a bev, eat a sandwich. That's a railroad track. Boom. Actually, watching the railroad repair the track was like amazing because every day I would be like, I wonder how they do that. And then I was like, oh, they made a machine that does, like, just they know how to do railroads. Like, they're super good at it. So this is the new thing I'm working on. I just got a grant from the National Historic Preservation Trust. It is the backing historic small restaurants. Corner Kitchen got one, and 50 restaurants in the whole country got $50,000. And I did a secret move where I basically I got an art grant, but I didn't use the word art one time. Yeah, thanks. It's actually the way to get art grants these days. It's like, just don't say art. You gotta say things like community development and like creative workforce development and those kind of things. So, I do this thing, which is the Building Community Project. We did it at the jail years ago, and it's the best kind of art that I make. And I had this experience, so like, my takeaway from the flood was like, stuff doesn't matter as much as you think. People matter. And so as a person that makes stuff for a living, that kind of felt challenging for a while. And I've been doing ceramics for 30 years, and it's my job. And so people sometimes are like, oh, it must be so therapeutic. And I'm like, I love ceramics, but it's not that for me. Like, if you're like doing it as a hobby, sure. But I'm like, that's kind of my job. Like, I do love my job, but it's not something I'm doing like for therapy. And so going in my studio alone and like making more stuff felt like kind of pointless to me. That was a big struggle that I had creatively and emotionally. Like, I just learned that stuff doesn't matter that much. And so like, what am I gonna do? Just go make more stuff. Like the whole time I was like, all I wanna do is be in Marshall and be with my people. And there's this thing that I've experienced, which is the worst place was the only place where I felt comfortable and normal. And it was because I didn't have to explain it to everyone, because everyone around me just knew. And it's exhausting. Like when I would go out in the world, I just was like, do you fucking understand? And then there's this weird thing where it's like, I need you to know, but also like, don't ask me about it. So nobody wins. And I was like, I'm just gonna stay here in my little place. So my friend Aaron Stone made this video, and it's like me explaining the brick project like after the flood. So I'm just gonna let past Josh tell you about it.
Yeah, this is the Building Community Brick Project. I facilitated this art installation. It's actually a monument. It's a folk monument. These are our voices. These are the feelings and sentiments of the people of the world. And the bricks, this is a moment in history. It's a time capsule. This project only gets better and more significant as time progresses. And when you look and read through these bricks now, this is powerful. This is poignant, powerful stuff. The bricks that are on the inside of the jail, I actually made those, and they're very specific to the building's history and the people that were here. So this is an installation I made. It's called If These Walls Could Talk. And this is the whole history of the building written into the walls. So the 1916 flood is in here. It's part of the story of this town. Here we go. On Sunday, July 16th, the French Broad crested at 22 feet in Marshall. That is 14 feet above flood level. Some folks say it was nearly 25 feet. Hard to tell, but folks say the water was to the tops of the first floor windows in the old jail. Yet the jail stood steadfast through the storm and every flood since then. And it will again. We're still here.
So this is the concept drawing for the monument that we're gonna build for this time, and it's like a house. It's like a child's drawing of a house, like a Monopoly house, and it doesn't have a roof, which is part of it. It's important. So it's kind of a ruin, but it's also like a cathedral. So and we're start the brick project on this Saturday, and then it's gonna run 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday from noon to 7 till December, and it's hosted at the Old Marshall Jail, and anyone can come and you can make a brick. You can make as many bricks as you want. We facilitate the whole thing, so there's stamps with letters, you can freehand, you can draw, you can volunteer. The entire staffing is volunteer. So I'm just the facilitator, and on like all my Instagrams. There's a link for a sign up form if you want to come. There's 2 shifts a day. The volunteering is easy and fun. It's mostly just shepherding people through the brick making process. And when I say making, I already made all the bricks. So you just have to help them like decorate them. So come on out if you want. Thanks for listening.
Give it up.